Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and sorry about the wait. Just some announcements in respect to Ministry of Education. They all have to do with administrative matters, as we had made some comments a couple of weeks back, that there were a number of fundamental issues in respect of the administration of the ministry, and we have given out some information regarding that, but I would also like to make some further announcements in terms of what we have discovered over the past couple of weeks. First of all, as you know, that we had the teachers sit for proficiency tests, the exams that we had. We have since discovered that some divisional education officers had told these teachers that they did not actually have to sit for the tests. So some of them actually did not turn up and sit for these tests or the exams. And obviously they gave out incorrect information. And as a result of which, they have missed out on getting the contracts. So we have mapped a way forward. What we have said that all those teachers who were told incorrectly by the divisional education officers that did not have to sit for the exams will be given one-year contracts. In the meantime, of course, they'll have to sit for the exam when the exams are given out, when the exams are next set, and then those exam dates will be actually made known in the next couple of weeks. Please note that these exams, as we've said, is not about passing or failing, but it's about setting their proficiency in respect of being teachers. It's not pass or fail. It is only to determine the order of merit so that they can be appropriately placed as teachers in their respective schools. So those teachers, please be rest assured that they will be getting contracts. They can be, of course, they can reach out to the Civil Service Reform Management Unit. As you know, the helpline is 162. You can also email to csrmu.enquiries@gmail.com, and their issues will be taken care of. And they will also be given one-year contracts. Unfortunately, as you will find out later on in the press conference, that we are discovering a number of anomalies, a number of administrative anomalies, I should say, within the ministry that has led to a debacle by some of the education officers and how they perform their duties. We also have some outstanding issues in regards to teachers and the transfers. We are in the process of course, assessing which schools require teachers, but also we have a number of issues where representations again were made to various individual teachers about transfers, that they'll be given transfers. Some of them, in fact, based on those representations by the education officers, made arrangements, and some of them actually moved across to the different locations. But when they got there, they're now being told that they're not required there. Again, this is an administrative debacle, and again, we are now addressing those immediately. We have, of course, on the back of that, assured all those teachers that if they have some genuine cases, please refer them to us. We have instances where education officers were fully aware, but they were transferring one teacher on one end of, for example, Vanwalevu, and the other one being transferred on the other end of Vanwalevu. And this is obviously not conducive for family life. It's not conducive for their own personal well-being in respect of how they fit in socially in the different areas that they're being transferred to. So that again will be addressed, and we again apologize to these teachers where different representations were made to them by the different respective divisional education officers, or some of them even by the head office. This feeds in also to our issue pertaining to teacher shortages, where some schools are claiming that they do not have enough teachers. Generally, as a practice, what actually happens has happened for the past 30-40 years. Once school starts, then the education officers, either from the head office or the divisions, actually then go on a tour of all the schools to find out exactly where there is a teacher shortage, or in what subject areas, etc. It becomes somewhat of a, some cases, a bit of a roadshow and a bit of a jaunt. What we're doing now, and the forms will be actually given out from next week, is that we are going to now get the head teachers and the principals to fill out those forms and tell us which areas they have shortages in. And then, of course, once the information is received by the ministry, They'll carry out the assessments within the offices. They themselves don't have to go out. We can rely on the head teachers and the principals to give us that information. And then, of course, we'll try and fill in all those positions. We are seeing already there's shortages primarily in the area of maths, physics, industrial arts and office technologies, and some of them, of course, in some other areas, in particular to do with science also. We will, of course, have to take into consideration the availability of classrooms, because in some of the schools, whilst they may require more teachers, there may not be enough classrooms physically to actually accommodate additional classes. And of course, in some rural areas, whilst we may actually send some teachers, there may not be enough accommodation available, because as you know, in the rural areas, they need to have accommodation. And we, of course, need to take that into account when we are carrying out the assessment of where the teacher requirements are. But the most definitely, we are changing the culture in respect of how these assessments will be made. We're now putting the responsibility, giving the responsibility to the head teachers and principals. They immediately need to give us the feedback, fill out the forms. These forms will be sent out to them next week, in the middle of next week sometime. And they give that feedback. Assessments will be done in-house, and very quickly we'll try and address those issues. Of course, there were some teachers who actually, or would-be teachers, who actually did not sit for the exams for whatever reasons. Some of them went away overseas on a holiday. Some were graduates and they had gone away overseas for a holiday. Some of them just weren't deciding, they had not decided frankly what to do, whether they want to teach or not. So we are giving them also an opportunity to sit for the exam should they want to become teachers and carry on with the profession. And we'll be advertising new exam times for them this coming Saturday. Next Saturday it will be advertised, and the venues and the next opportunities will be outlined in that. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, that we've also carried out a number of other assessments regarding the proficiency of the administrators themselves within the Ministry of Education. We've had a number of unwarranted delays in the manner in which they have been dealing with these graduates, the applicants, the teachers. Some of them have been coming up to the head office and waiting for hours, some of them late into the evening. Apparently this has been the practice for the past 30-40 years. This happens every year. Everybody zooms down to Suva, and as we gave a directive last week, that this should not happen, that the contracts should be sent to the divisional offices and people should be able to pick up their contracts from there. Because why should somebody, for example, come all the way from Banwalevu or Levuka, wherever it is they live, to Suva and wait for hours in the corridors? Who's going to pay for the boat fare, the transport costs and food and all of that? So what we've said needs to be decentralized. But apart from that, apart from getting the sort of cultural change and viewing things from a modern perspective, we have seen, as I've highlighted already, that there is an enormous amount of leakage of information, personal information about staff. As you know, some of them has been posted on Facebook. There's been a memo that's been sent out. This is individual teachers' personal information. There's been inconsistent information, as I've highlighted to you, how some divisional education officers have said to teachers in those areas, saying, you don't have to sit for the exam. The next person, they said you have to sit for the exam. Some of them have been told that yes, you'll get your transfer, but then they don't get their transfer. There's been delays in the processing. There's been missing information. So we're going to actually start some investigations in this respect, and that's starting from Tuesday this coming week. We're getting some people from outside the ministry, including from the Civil Service Reform Management Unit, and people from some of the other ministries to work together to ensure and actually hone in as to which were the civil servants who were actually causing these issues. And of course we have the Director of CSRMU that will be conducting the chair of the investigation team. And of course, once those who are responsible are found, they'll be held accountable. They need to go through a discipline process, because we need to have a sea change in the culture in the Ministry of Education. From what we have seen, the culture really should be that the civil servants, the administrators in the head office and various other divisional offices should be looking after their clients. And their clients are the teachers. But in fact, the roles are reversed. What we have seen is that the teachers are somehow or the other have to be beholden to these administrators. The role should be that these officers, the head office, the divisional education officers need to look after these teachers. Because if they make the work environment for the teachers conducive, and conducive work environment, these teachers will go out and teach well. If their contracts are sorted out early, if they're given the right teaching positions, if they are being given the correct information, if there is transparency, of course then they'll have a right state of mind when they go and teach our children. And ultimately the students, the children are our clients. There are over 200,000 students in this country. Education has got, the education sector in Fiji has got about $1 billion in the, for the budget, 2017-2018. It's the responsibility of those civil servants who are supposed to be administering the teachers' work conditions, terms and conditions, their transfers, their appointments, their contracts, the postings, and where they shortage or not. That's the ultimate responsibility for them. That's their KPI. And they unfortunately have not been able to focus on that. And that's what we need to get a cultural change in the Ministry of Education. We have, as a part of this, of course, we are to ensure that there's greater transparency. We are conducting an independent audit into the markings and the data entry of the recent the exams that they set to ensure that this is correct, and to, of course, be able to give these results and the feedback to these teachers and the graduates who actually set for these exams. There needs to be much greater transparency. And one of the things we've noticed that these administrative staff, they're not really engaged in transparency. There needs to be much greater transparency. There was some issue that was raised. I was sent some questions by one of the media organizations saying that teachers weren't being paid correctly. That's incorrect. They're saying that people are being paid $50–60 for the pay. That's incorrect. The reality is that some people's contract expired halfway in the pay week. So obviously, if you're going to be paid only for that pay week for 3 days, you'll get paid for 3 days, and then of course from the following pay, then it picks up for the 2 weeks because they get paid every fortnight. So if your contract has ended in the middle and the next payday is about 3 days later, you get paid for those 3 days. So it is incorrect, and it's an obfuscation of the information that's there. As I've said, that we are bringing about these changes within the ministry itself. We're addressing those fundamental issues regarding the teacher contracts, those who were told not that they don't have to sit for the exams. They are being addressed, the teacher transfers. We're addressing the teacher shortage issue. And also as part of that, the Public Service Commission has also been very closely monitoring the work of the ministry, and of course all the other ministries too. As you know, there's been some changes. They have also just announced that there will be a change in the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Education. The PS for Education is moving across to the PS as PS of Youth and Sports, and the PS of Youth and Sports will become the PS for Education. That is effective from tomorrow, Monday. That's already has been announced by the Public Service Commission. So as we said, that with these changes and with the investigations being brought about, and of course the helpline that has been set up, and we ask all teachers, please address your issues to helpline number 162, which is a toll-free number. Please send your issues to this particular line. We are here to actually help them. We want to ensure that the teachers are being looked after. We want to ensure that any lack of information that's out there, any misinformation that's out there is being addressed, and they need to bring those issues to us immediately. We need to make a fresh start for the ministry. We need to treat teachers with respect. I highlight that again, with dignity, and to foster a culture of accountability and transparency within the Ministry of Education. Is very critical, as it is one of the largest ministries. We have implemented the civil service reforms. Unfortunately, the Ministry of Education was one of the slowest ones. It was probably had the most resistance, apart from one of the other ministries, in respect of adopting the new way of appointing of staff. There's a deep culture of who you know, how long have you been within the system, and that obviously needs to be done away with. And we are now seeing some changes taking place. And we ask all those stakeholders of ours, including the teachers, the schools, the school committees, and the graduates to please work together with us, because we're trying to bring about this culture of change and see change within the Ministry of Education to address these fundamental issues. Okay, so they are the sort of key announcements we had, and it does address a number of the questions that had been sent to us prior in the last few days. Thank you.